Hello my loyal companions and welcome back to another episode of Rogue Revealed, the series where I take you through everything you need to know about the new game Rogue Company. And today's episode I thought it'd be useful to give you 5 tips on how best to improve your aim. These 5 tips are designed to be nice and simple for you to put into action today. It's not some secret strategy that's going to take you ages to learn. There's something you can practice right now, just some small little tips that may just adjust your aim slightly and help you get a little bit better in game. If you would like some advanced tips, I do have some in the bank that I want to share with you guys, so leave a like on this video to let me know if that's something you want to see. But for now, let's get into the video. Tip number 1 is to avoid the cardinal sin of shooting games, and that is to not know your sensitivity or have been playing around with your sensitivity to figure out what's best. Whenever someone asks me how can I improve my aim, the first question I ask them is, well, what's your sensitivity? And if my answer is, I don't know, then that's where I get them to start. Figure out your sensitivity, jump into some games and test what works best for you. If you're interested in what my settings are, I actually have a video here on the channel which is my settings, and you can have a little look at that to get a gauge of what might be useful for you. Tip number 2 is going to be to practice. Now I don't just mean jumping into game and practicing that way, that's obviously going to be really beneficial for you, but you can actually test it out in the tutorial game mode that is available. You'll see some footage now of me testing against the different targets, and this can be something at the moment you can just go jump into and play it around with. You can use this to test like flicking between different enemies, trying to get headshots, trying to get body shots, trying to move quickly and snap between targets quick. And I would recommend that you also switch up your patterns, so you're not just hitting the closest targets, you're trying to snap between the different ones. In the next patch as well, they're going to be releasing a training mode, so this will be even better for trying that. It should have some sort of shooting range, some sort of way of testing the guns and all those sort of things, which will be amazing for us to start practicing on that. But tip number 2 is to practice, and this is really, really key. Just warm up, get your shot on point, and figure out where your strengths and weaknesses lie. Moving on to tip number 3 is going to be looking at the difference between a standard aim down sight shot, a crouched aim down sight shot, hip fire, and then jumping hip fire shots. You can see me testing these out on screen now, and you can actually see between the normal aim down sight and the crouched aim down sight, there's not a lot of difference. They're a bit more compact horizontally, but vertically the recoil is still the same. Obviously when we move to hip fire, the spread is massive, so this should only be really used for close range. And looking at the jumping shot, you can see it's really, really sporadic. So it's not like other games like Call of Duty where you can jump shot effectively. Remember, you can't aim down sight when you jump, so that really, really will throw off your aim. It's pretty much useless. So realistically, when you're aiming down sight, crouched or not, it's not making a lot of difference. So stand up if you have to, crouch if it works best for the cover, but don't rely too much on it. It doesn't really make much of a difference. I thought that'd be a little myth that I wanted to bust for you just here. My 4th tip for you is all about crosshair placement. If you are unfamiliar with this term, basically what it means is positioning your crosshair, your target, in the right line where you think enemies will come or where you think you're peeking around a corner and they'll be. The most common example I can see of this is actually when you're using the third person peek to know where an enemy is and then you appear from the corner. If you're not appearing from the corner and the moment you peek, your cursor is straight on their body or their head, then you've basically lost all your advantage. Using your crosshair placement, try to aim exactly where the enemy will be, either pre-aiming a corner or, as I said, as you go around the corner yourself, knowing exactly where they're going to be, you need to put your crosshair in the right place. You want to increase your chances of getting as many shots off as quickly as possible by having your cursor as close to them and not having to adjust super far. It's much easier to aim when your cursor's already on them than it is to then flick to them and then try and shoot them that way. So utilize crosshair placement as much as possible, and as you're playing, just keep it in mind, is my crosshair in a place where if an enemy pops round or if I'm peeking on an enemy, I'm actually going to hit them or not. Do keep that in mind, and you'll start checking yourself up on it and making some small adjustments throughout your games, and that will really increase your ability to aim. This leads on to my 5th tip, which is to look at where you're actually aiming. You want to be aiming in this game from upper chest to head height. If you get your first few shots on the chest, it will then recoil up to the head. So that is really where I'd say if you are struggling with your aim, you want to be aiming, try and get their midsection, and then some shots will lift up for you onto the head. But depending on how good your recoil control actually is, you should be aiming somewhere between that upper chest and head range to get your best shots. If you're really confident with your recoil control, you can just aim slightly towards the neck and allow all the headshots to go through clean. If you're a little bit unsure, you want to be trying to get that mid chest and then hope that your recoil can maybe hit a few headshots in there occasionally. But no matter what, you do want to be adjusting for your recoil as much as possible. As I said, when you looked at those recoil patterns before, they do go really hard up and generally to the right or to the left, so you want to be learning those patterns and toning it down. So do make sure you're focusing on where your cursor is and where you're actually aiming. Okay then guys, there are my 5 tips for just improving your aim slightly. As I said, they're nice simple things for you just to put in practice straight away and just start noticing about yourself to improve. If you do want those advanced tips, leave a comment below and also make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content. If you do find any of these tips helpful, you can come see me live on twitch.tv/RadBarGaming, where I'll go through different games and I'll actually give you some educational tips, and I'm there to answer any questions you have. Other than that guys, I hope you have a fantastic day and I will see you in the next video. Bye.